The text arrived at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday night, jolting me awake from my first decent sleep in weeks. I'd been pulling 18-hour days finalizing the acquisition of St. Mary's Medical Center, the largest private hospital in the state and the crown jewel of my healthcare investment portfolio. Mom had a heart attack. She's stable but needs surgery. St. Mary's Hospital, room 314. Don't come, you'll just upset her more. We'll handle this as a family. I stared at the message from my father, Robert Chin, for a full minute before responding. 23 years old, and he still treated me like the disappointing daughter who couldn't do anything right. I hope she recovers quickly, I typed back, keeping my response simple and calm. 3 dots appeared immediately. Good. Glad you understand your place finally. I set my phone aside and walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows of my penthouse apartment overlooking downtown Portland. In the distance, I could see the lights of St. Mary's Medical Center, the 400-bed facility I had officially acquired just 6 hours ago through my healthcare investment company, Meridian Health Group. My father had no idea that his failure daughter now owned the hospital where his wife was fighting for her life. The irony was almost too perfect. Growing up, I was always the odd one out in the Chin family. My parents, both successful surgeons, had mapped out my entire life before I could walk. Medical school, residency, joining their prestigious practice, carrying on the family legacy. My older brother Kevin had followed the script perfectly: Harvard Medical, cardiothoracic surgery residency, now one of the most sought-after surgeons on the West Coast. But I had different dreams. I wanted to build something bigger than a practice. I wanted to revolutionize healthcare from the business side, making quality medical care accessible to everyone, not just the wealthy elite who could afford my parents' boutique services. When I announced at 18 that I was majoring in business instead of pre-med, my father called it the biggest disappointment of his life. When I started my first healthcare technology company at 20, using my college fund as seed money, he told everyone I was wasting my potential on impossible dreams. When that company sold for $50 million 2 years later, he still found reasons to criticize. Technology isn't real medicine, he'd said. You're just pushing papers around. You'll never help actual patients. So I stopped telling them about my successes. I let them believe what they wanted to believe, that their youngest daughter was a struggling entrepreneur with unrealistic ambitions, while they were the real heroes saving lives in their operating rooms. What they didn't know was that I had spent the last 3 years quietly building one of the largest healthcare investment portfolios in the Pacific Northwest. Meridian Health Group now owned or had controlling stakes in 12 hospitals, 34 urgent care centers, and the region's largest medical equipment manufacturer. And as of 6 hours ago, that portfolio included St. Mary's Medical Center. I called my assistant Marcus despite the late hour. He answered on the first ring, a necessity in our business where medical emergencies didn't follow business hours. Ms. Chin, is everything all right? I need you to pull the file on our new acquisition, St. Mary's Medical Center. Specifically, I need information on any patients admitted tonight. Right away. Any particular reason? Personal. Marcus, I need you to clear my schedule for tomorrow morning. I'm going to be making some changes at St. Mary's. The next morning, I arrived at St. Mary's at 7 a.m. sharp, dressed in my standard business attire, a charcoal gray suit that commanded respect without being flashy. The staff didn't know who I was yet. The acquisition had been handled through lawyers and wouldn't be publicly announced until next week. I went straight to the administrative offices and asked to speak with Dr. Patricia Williams, the chief medical officer. Ms. Chin, she said, rising from her desk to shake my hand. I have to say this is unexpected. We weren't told the new owner would be visiting so soon. I like to see my investments firsthand, I said, settling into the chair across from her desk. I also have a personal interest in one of your current patients. Mrs. Lisa Chin, admitted last night with a heart attack. Dr. Williams pulled up the file on her computer. Yes, she's scheduled for triple bypass surgery this afternoon. Dr. Rodriguez is one of our finest cardiac surgeons. The patient is stable and the prognosis is good. What's the estimated cost for her treatment? For the surgery, hospital stay and recovery? Probably around $200,000. Her insurance will cover most of it, but there will likely be a substantial copay. I nodded. I want all charges for Mrs. Chen's treatment to be written off. Complete forgiveness of any costs not covered by insurance. Dr. Williams looked surprised. That's very generous. May I ask why? She's my mother. The shocked look on her face was almost comical. Your mother? But the patient information says her daughter is estranged from the family. That's why there's a note about restricting visitors. That note is incorrect. Please remove any visitor restrictions for Mrs. Chen's room. And Dr. Williams? I want to be informed immediately of any changes in her condition. I spent the next hour touring the facility, meeting with department heads and getting a feel for the hospital's operations. St. Mary's was well run with an excellent reputation and a dedicated staff. It was exactly the kind of institution I wanted in my portfolio, one where I could make meaningful improvements to patient care while building a sustainable business. At 9:30 my phone rang. My father's number. Mr. Chin, I answered formally. What the hell did you do? His voice was tight with anger. I'm sorry. Don't play games with me. The hospital just called and said all of your mother's medical bills have been taken care of. They said the new owner personally authorized it. How did you manage that? I leaned back in my chair in the executive conference room, looking out at the bustling hospital corridor through the glass walls. Dad, I'm not sure what you're implying. I'm implying that you somehow talked someone into paying for your mother's treatment, and I won't have my family accepting charity because of your connections. It's not charity. Then what is it? I took a deep breath. This wasn't how I'd planned to reveal the truth, but the opportunity was too perfect to pass up. It's a business decision. As the owner of St. Mary's Medical Center, I've decided to waive all uncovered costs for Mrs. Chen's treatment. Silence. Complete total silence. Dad. That's not funny. I'm not joking. I acquired St. Mary's yesterday through my healthcare investment company. The deal closed at 6 p.m. last night, about 5 hours before Mom was admitted. More silence. You don't own a healthcare investment company. You have some little tech startup that barely keeps you afloat. Dad, Meridian Health Group owns or controls 47 healthcare facilities across 3 states. We employ over 8,000 people and generate annual revenues of approximately $1.2 billion. The acquisition of St. Mary's was our largest single purchase to date, $340 million. I could hear him breathing heavily. You're lying. Room 314, right? That's where Mom is. How did you? Because I'm looking at her chart right now. Lisa Chin, 52 years old, admitted at 11:15 p.m. with acute myocardial infarction. Scheduled for triple bypass surgery at 2 p.m. today with Drive Rodriguez. Allergic to penicillin, previous surgery in 2018 for gallbladder removal. The silence stretched even longer this time. I'm coming up there. I'll be in the executive conference room on the 5th floor. 20 minutes later, my father walked into the conference room looking like he'd seen a ghost. He was still wearing scrubs from his own hospital across town, his graying hair disheveled from what had obviously been a sleepless night. Explain this to me, he said without preamble. I gestured to the chair across from me. Which part? All of it. Start with how my daughter, who was wasting her potential, now claims to own the hospital where my wife is having surgery. I pulled out my tablet and opened the Meridian Health Group portfolio overview, a document that would make most investment firms weep with envy. 3 years ago, after you made it clear that I would never be welcome in the family practice, I decided to focus on the business side of healthcare. I started by investing in medical technology companies, the ones developing software to streamline patient care, reduce costs and improve outcomes. I slid the tablet across the table. His eyes widened as he scrolled through the financial statements. My first major success was MedFlow Systems, patient management software that reduced administrative costs by 35% while improving care coordination. I sold that company for $50 million and used the profits to start acquiring healthcare facilities that were struggling financially but had strong clinical reputations. This says you own 12 hospitals. 13 as of yesterday. I focus on mid-sized facilities in underserved markets. Places where good doctors are doing important work but don't have the business infrastructure to maximize their impact. He kept scrolling, his expression shifting from skepticism to amazement. The profit margins, these numbers can't be right. They're accurate. When you combine efficient operations with quality care, patients get better outcomes and the business becomes more sustainable. It's not revolutionary, it's just good business. But how did we not know? How did you keep this secret for 3 years? I took the tablet back and closed it. I didn't keep it secret, Dad. I stopped sharing my life with people who had already decided I was a failure. He flinched at that but didn't argue. Every time I tried to tell you about a success, you found a way to diminish it. When MedFlow sold, you said it was just lucky timing. When I opened my second facility, you said I was overextending myself and would probably fail. So I stopped trying to get your approval and focused on building something meaningful. We thought you were struggling. You drive that old Honda, you live in a small apartment. I live in a 3,000 square foot penthouse in the Pearl District. I drive a Honda because I prefer reliable, efficient transportation to flashy status symbols. I don't measure success by how much I can spend on things I don't need. My father looked genuinely stunned. I don't understand. If you're this successful, why didn't you just tell us? When? At Christmas dinner 2 years ago, when you spent an hour explaining to Uncle David why I'd probably never amount to anything? Or at Kevin's engagement party last year when you introduced me to his fiancée as the daughter who chose the hard path? We were worried about you. No, Dad. You were embarrassed by me. There's a difference. He was quiet for a long time, staring at his hands. What happens now? He asked finally. Now Mom gets the best possible care, recovers fully, and hopefully gets many more years with her family. The medical bills won't be a concern. I meant with us. With the family. I looked out the window at the city where I'd built my life and my business, largely without any support from the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. That depends on you, Dad. I'm not the same person who used to beg for your approval. I've built something I'm proud of, and I don't need your validation to know it's worthwhile. But if you want to be part of my life going forward, you're welcome. Just not as the disappointed father who thinks his daughter made the wrong choices. And if I can't do that, then we maintain a polite, distant relationship. I'll make sure Mom gets excellent health care through the Meridian Network, and we'll see each other at holidays and major family events. But I won't pretend to be less than I am just to make you more comfortable. A knock on the conference room door interrupted us. Dr. Williams stepped in. Miss Chin, I wanted to update you on your mother's pre-surgical prep. Everything looks good for the 2 p.m. procedure. Also, Dr. Rodriguez asked if you'd like to observe from the gallery. As the hospital owner, you're welcome to watch if you're interested. Thank you, Dr. Williams. I'd like that very much. After she left, my father stared at me with an expression I'd never seen before. The hospital owner, he repeated slowly. My daughter owns the hospital where my wife is having surgery. Yes. And you're going to watch the operation. Yes. He shook his head. I've been a surgeon for 30 years and I've never owned so much as a clinic. You're 23 and you own 13 hospitals. 12 hospitals and 34 urgent care centers, I corrected gently. Jesus Christ, Anna. What have we done? It was the first time I could remember my father acknowledging that he might have been wrong about something important. The first time he'd looked at me and seen something other than a disappointment or a worry. You raised a daughter who learned that if she wanted to change the world, she'd have to do it herself, I said. That's not the worst outcome. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Portland Business Journal wants to interview you about the St. Mary's acquisition. Should I schedule it? I typed back. Next week. Too much going on right now. Business? My father asked. The St. Mary's acquisition will be announced publicly next week. I'll probably do some interviews, talk about our expansion plans for the Pacific Northwest. Expansion plans? I smiled. Dad, St. Mary's was just the beginning. We're looking at acquiring 3 more facilities in Oregon and Washington by the end of the year. Our goal is to create an integrated healthcare network that provides world-class care at affordable prices. You sound like you're describing a fantasy. I'm describing the future. And if you're interested, there might be a place in it for you. He raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Meridian Health Group is always looking for experienced physicians to join our clinical advisory board. We're planning to open a new cardiac surgery center next year, and we could use someone with your expertise to help design the protocols. You're offering me a job? At your company. I'm offering you a chance to be part of something bigger than any individual practice could be. But as a colleague, not as the father doing his daughter a favor. Before he could respond, Dr. Williams returned. Miss Chin, your mother is asking for you. She's awake and alert, and the surgical team is ready to begin prep. I stood up, straightening my jacket. Let's go see Mom. As we walked toward the elevator, my father caught my arm. Anna. Yes. I'm sorry. For all of it. For not believing in you, for not supporting your dreams, for making you feel like you had to choose between your family and your success. I studied his face, looking for any sign of the condescension or dismissal I'd grown so accustomed to. Instead, I saw something I'd been waiting my whole life to see. Respect. Thank you, Dad. That means more than you know. Can we start over? Can I learn about who you really are instead of who I thought you should be? I thought about the years of disappointment, the constant criticism, the feeling of never being good enough. Then I thought about the woman I'd become in spite of it all, successful, independent, capable of changing lives and building something meaningful. I'd like that, I said finally. We found Mom awake and alert in her hospital room, surrounded by the best cardiac care team in the state. When she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. Anna. But Robert said. I changed my mind, Dad said quickly. I was wrong to ask her to stay away. I took Mom's hand. How are you feeling? Scared, she admitted. But better now that you're here. I've missed you so much, sweetheart. I've missed you too, Mom. Dr. Rodriguez appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Chen, we're ready to take you to surgery. The procedure should take about 4 hours and I expect a full recovery. As they wheeled Mom away, she squeezed my hand. I love you, Anna. Whatever happened between us, I want you to know that. I love you too, Mom. The surgery went perfectly. 4 hours later, Dr. Rodriguez found Dad and me in the family waiting area with good news. 3 new bypasses, no complications, excellent prognosis for a complete recovery. As we sat in the recovery room waiting for Mom to wake up, Dad looked at me with something approaching wonder. I have to ask, why didn't you tell us? Even after we hurt you, even after we made it clear we didn't believe in you, why didn't you just prove us wrong? I thought about it for a moment. Because I didn't build this to prove anything to you, Dad. I built it because I saw a way to help people and make the healthcare system work better. Your approval would have been nice, but it was never the point. So what was the point? I looked around the recovery room at the state-of-the-art monitoring equipment, the comfortable furniture for families, the artwork on the walls chosen to create a calming environment. Everything designed to make a difficult time a little easier for people facing medical crises. The point was this, I said. Creating places where families don't have to choose between quality care and financial ruin. Where patients are treated with dignity and respect regardless of their ability to pay. Where medical professionals have the resources they need to do their best work. And the business success? The business success makes it sustainable. You can't help people if you go bankrupt, and you can't grow if you're not profitable. But profit isn't the goal, it's the tool that lets you achieve the goal. Dad was quiet for a long time, watching Mom sleep peacefully. I think I understand now, he said finally. You didn't choose business over medicine. You chose a different way to practice medicine. Something like that. And you're good at it. I'm very good at it. He laughed, a real laugh, not the polite chuckle I was used to hearing from him. My daughter, the hospital mogul. Who would have thought? Not you, apparently. Definitely not me. But Anna. Yeah. I'm proud of you. Truly, genuinely proud. Not of what you've accomplished, but of who you are. The person who built all of this while still caring enough about her family to make sure her mother got the best possible care, even after we treated you so poorly. I felt tears in my eyes for the first time in years. Thank you, Dad. That's all I ever wanted to hear. Mom woke up an hour later, groggy but smiling. The first thing she saw was both her daughter and her husband sitting beside her bed, no longer the fractured family that had let pride and misunderstanding drive them apart. Over the next few days, as Mom recovered and grew stronger, our family slowly began to heal. Kevin came to visit and spent an hour asking me detailed questions about healthcare administration, genuinely impressed by what I'd built. Mom cried when I told her about the free clinic I was planning to open next year in her honor. And Dad started asking me about joining Meridian Health Group's clinical advisory board, not because he needed the work, but because he wanted to be part of what I was building. 2 weeks later, the Portland Business Journal ran a cover story about the acquisition. Local entrepreneur builds healthcare empire. The article detailed my path from struggling startup founder to CEO of one of the region's largest healthcare networks, with a photo of me standing in front of St. Mary's Medical Center. My parents framed the article and hung it in their living room, right next to Kevin's medical school graduation photo and his surgical awards. For the first time in my life, I felt like I truly belonged in my own family. But the best part wasn't the recognition or the reconciliation or even the successful business I'd built. The best part was the call I received from Dr. Williams 3 months later, telling me that St. Mary's had achieved the highest patient satisfaction scores in its history and that staff retention was up 40% since the acquisition. "Whatever you're doing," she said, "it's working. This is the best environment I've worked in during my 20-year career." That night, I stood in my penthouse apartment looking out at the city lights, thinking about the text message that had started everything. "Don't come, you'll just upset her more." My father had been wrong about a lot of things, but he'd been especially wrong about that. My presence didn't upset anyone. My presence, my ownership, my investment, my commitment to excellence had made everything better. Sometimes the best revenge really is living well. But sometimes, if you're very lucky, living well becomes the foundation for something even better. A family that finally sees you for who you really are, and a business that changes lives for the better every single day. And honestly, that felt better than any revenge I could have imagined.